but it does provide universal coverage.
But the chairman of the full committee did not embrace this measure with its $1.29 a pack cigarette tax.
The subcommittee is much more liberal than the Full Ways and Means Committee. I have already had members on my committee suggest that that's intolerable. We're not going to accept that. I don't know that members of the Ways and Means Committee want to put people out of business.
Margaret, is this bill a win or a loss for President Clinton?
You know, it's interesting. This is the way Rosti says thank you to the president for coming and saving him. You know, I don't think Clinton's going to have to eat the pen. I think Rosti's going to save him from that in the end. The word universal will somehow be there, but the noun will be different. It won't be coverage, it will be access or some such thing in the final bill.
Dick Cheney, win or defeat?
I think Bill Clinton will sign anything that lands on his desk that's got the word health in the title. And I think from a substantive standpoint that it's going to change very dramatically. Danny Rostenkowski spoke it, and I think very, very accurately.
Al, win or loss, Pete Stark?
Well, it really doesn't matter. This whole thing will be rewritten, and I'm even going to use this as a starting point when it gets to the full committee. I think in the end, however, there will be something that is genuine universal coverage. It'll be stretched out further. Dick Cheney, I think, has been one of the few candid and honest Republicans about this. He said there's no real crisis. I just think the Republic doesn't agree with him.
How about it, Bob?
You know, Mark, when the ranking Republican on this subcommittee, Bill Thomas of California, brings up the president's plan and he got 0 votes, I got to say that is a loss. I mean, I don't know much about higher mathematics, but I know arithmetic. And when you get no votes for your plan, they want something else, whether it's the Stark plan or the future Rostenkowski plan.
7 members did abstain on that vote, and of course Cooper Bro was sent down as well. Thomas Chafee was sent down as well. I mean, they were all rejected. So I mean, it was in fact a starting point. Dick Cheney, the good old days when George Bush was president and there wasn't a health care crisis. Respond to Al Hunt's
Well, the problem we have here is that this is not about providing health care to people. I mean, everybody in the country does in fact have health care today. It's about how we finance it. And it's about trying to deal with some of those problems connected with it, and what the administration's recommended, and what's in the Chafee bill, and what's in the Cooper Bro bill. It's a vast insertion of government into our society to take over a very significant part of our total economy that will have costs associated with it far worse than the evil you're trying to correct.
What we're showing right today is the difficulty in drafting a bill because the subcommittee rejected a payroll tax. So they got to get some way to finance it, so they just knocked the hell out of the tobacco industry, particularly smokeless tobacco. And then Chairman Rostenkowski said, hey, we're not going to do that. We're not going to put these people out of business. So where is the money going to come from?
Well, the Labor Department's going to put the tobacco industry. I mean, we have 2 competing things here. One is we're going to tax them, and then they say you can't smoke anywhere. So there are not going to be enough cigarette smokers around to finance the bill. Yeah.
Al, where is it going to come from?
Well, the dilemma that you face is that because you don't want to raise all that revenue, you want to cut back on the benefits. But to the extent you cut back on the benefits, you then make it much less attractive to pass a controversial measure. Let me just go at one point Dick made. Dick, I think it's a more fundamental problem than that. I think there are millions of people around this country who are afraid to change jobs because of health insurance, who are petrified. Their life savings could go down the drain. There are millions of people who do get health care. They get it in emergency rooms. I don't think that's the way we really want to treat it.
This is not a cost-free solution, though, Al. I'll be the first to admit that we can find things we'd like to improve in the current system. I think our whole medical malpractice system's a mess. But the cost that's associated with the big government solutions to this problem, to create a huge new entitlement program, maybe the biggest in our history, when we can't cope with the entitlements we already have in the books, seems to me is going to do very serious
damage
to the nation.
Something very important happened this week when the president took a look at this Stark bill, which is about as different from his as it can be. It isn't close to what he proposed. There's no alliances. It does have employer mandates. But well, maybe universal, maybe not. He says, it's mine, I'll sign it. He gave the signal, hey, fellas, unless you pass Jesse Helms' bill, I'm going to sign it.
Well, that's been urged upon him as a strategy.
We're going to end up with, I think, a Moynihan bill, which is a health insurance reform bill. And you solve a lot of the problems if you get the pre-existing conditions covered and the portability. And then there will be universal coverage if you can solve the insurance companies. And you don't need alliances to do that.
Dick, if the House does pass a bill,
Yeah.
if the House does pass a bill, it's really unthinkable that the Republicans in the Senate would try and filibuster it, isn't it?
I think the Republicans in the Senate will try to work with with Pat Moynihan especially and see what they can come up with. But I would hope that we Republicans don't make the mistake of being so concerned with the Clinton bill, we kill that, but then we end up buying something that is almost equally bad. And when you get into the idea of mandated coverage and all of the other onerous provisions that are embodied in a lot of those bills, I think it does serious long-term damage to the country. And I'm hopeful that over the next few weeks, we'll see the debate enlighten even more people so that people start to have second thoughts about some of those alternatives.
Has anybody told Hillary?
I'm sorry. The next up, Capital Gang, war clouds over Korea.
Mothers and daughters, sisters and wives. They are our friends and partners, our strength and conscience. They guide us, nurture us, and protect us. They give us hope, they give us life. But there's a fact of every woman's life that we must all face up to. 1 out of every 9 will be stricken with breast cancer. That's why GE created its new Syndicated technology. It can make mammography faster, more comfortable, and more accurate. And by helping doctors detect tumors earlier, the GE Syndicated can help make a remarkable 91% cure rate possible, so that all our grandmothers and granddaughters, best friends and good neighbors, may live happier, healthier, and longer lives.
How we doing?
Dave needs to see you.
I'll be right there. Hey, Ron. Brad, man, how you doing? All right.
Brad Johnson has a lot to think about.
Where's my table?
Dave needs you in the kitchen right now.
That's why he chose AT&T. Competitive prices without the hassle is his AT&T business advantage.
Hey, Joey, get the big What's up, Dave? I got problems. Call a plumber.
So what does Brad think about his long-distance service now? He doesn't.
AT&T works for me.
Let AT&T work for you.
You find yourself in an inverted 12-week cycle. Now, there are many oscillations in strength, but you must look into the future, even futures themselves. You see the contrariety of wave trends sideways. You're experiencing month-end seasonality. Always, though, you must align yourself with real values.
Is she an astrologer? Financial analyst.
Debt-equity ratios, earning growth momentum, current asset ratios, all of these will point you on your true course.
Okay, but where do I put my money?
When you say money, do you mean actual money?
Welcome back. The United States reacted to North Korea's refusal to permit inspection of its nuclear program by sending Patriot missiles to South Korea, building up defenses, and mobilizing diplomatic support for possible sanctions.
We've made it clear to North Korea that it must become a responsible member of the international community, or that community will have no choice but to pursue other options.
But at the same time, President Clinton offered an olive branch to the North Koreans.
They could have a very bright future indeed. They have many contributions to make indeed to a united Korea, and we hope that it will work out.
Al, is either course, or which course, is going to bring the North Koreans around?
Well, Mark, I think the administration moved much too slowly to show strength. I think that basically the Patriots should have been put in without anguishing with the South Koreans. I mean, the Patriots are in there. Dick Cheney, I think, will say this to protect our airfields in case of a conflict. I think we should reignite the team spirit exercises with the South Koreans right now. That doesn't mean, however, that you can't hold out some olive branches also. I'll tell you why. I think time, contrary to some reports, may be on our side here. The North Koreans are an isolated, anachronistic regime. It's an economic basket case. I can't imagine their longevity is great. It's a delicate time, the most important area in the world right now. And I think time may be on our side.
Dick Cheney?
Well, I think usually that's the case, but not this time, Al. I would argue that as the North Koreans bring online an 800-megawatt reactor in the next 2 years and begin to produce enough plutonium to generate 30 to 40 weapons a year, that it is a very serious problem, not just because they would have that capability, but because they're likely to give it to others or sell it to others. They can become the major source of nuclear proliferation in the world, and the international community has to organize itself to contain that threat, and so far we're a long way from achieving that.
Margaret Carlson, how far are we from achieving?
Well, you know, I think time is not on our side because Kim Il-sung may pass to that great DMZ in the sky, but his son is reported to be equally bellicose, and so that's not on our side. And you know, Warren Christopher went on to say we are going to take increasingly stronger measures. I think we've gone much too easily on the North Koreans. They are not a regime that responds to diplomatic measures, and I think we do withdraw the olive branch and get tougher.